So to help us break it all down, Jamil Jaffer is a former senior advisor to the Senate Foreign Relations and House Intelligence Committees. Glad to have you here today. It had been a little disorienting to all of a sudden have Kim Jong Un be so cordial, and you know, he did release the American hostages, and it looked like we were full steam ahead. What do you know about the China angle here? And also, is it somewhat a little bit more comforting when you realize that, oh, this is the Kim Jong Un family that we know, and we have respect for the process, for the summit, but we're not going to go there and be snookered?
Well, that's right, Dana. Look, I mean, China obviously is the big player in the region. They are ultimately the backer of the North Korean regime. Without China, there is nothing for North Korea. They don't have any support. And so they're inclined to go where China tells them to go. And so it's interesting that his aggressive statements came after a meeting with the Chinese leader. Not clear whether he asked the Chinese leader, look, I want to get a little more aggressive, or China said, maybe you need to be a little more aggressive. Either way, what you're seeing here, I think, is two leaders sort of, you know, going toe-to-toe and saying, I can cancel, you can cancel, I can talk about nuclear war, so can you. And at the end of the day, while the tensions have heated up a little bit and the president cancels the summit, I bet you it's back on within 2 weeks.
Well, that's interesting. The president did leave the door open, certainly, for that. One thing about China that I'm curious about, every actor here that is involved, China, Japan, South Korea, the United States, and certainly North Korea, they're acting in their country's best interest. I don't understand, and maybe you could help me understand, why is it in China's interest for this summit not to go forward?
Well, look, I think at the end of the day, what's in China's interest is to have a North Korea that comes back in the line and does the right thing here, but also a North Korea that is strong relative to South Korea, right? Because at the end of the day, what they see is, they sort of view this in Cold War terms, right? The U.S. has its sphere of influence, South Korea. The China has its sphere of influence with North Korea, and they need to balance it off. And so if it looks like President Trump has got the upper hand, trying to say, look, we want you to back off a little bit. And actually, North Korea feels the same way. And so not clear whether this is China pulling the strings or whether it's North Korea reacting and saying to China, we want to go ahead and do this way. And China said, yep, that sounds fine to us.
Well, of course, anything the president does comes with some criticism from some parts of the country. Richard Haass, who we all know from foreign policy circles, he tweeted today, the summit was bound to fail as real Donald Trump administration badly overestimated what North Korea would agree to. The issue was and is U.S. willingness to accept an outcome short of total denuclearization. All or nothing foreign policy with North Korea, Iran, China. Trade risks producing nothing or conflict. But I wondered what you thought about this. I mean, you were obviously very instrumental in helping guide, at least on the Republican side, the members of Congress as President Obama moved forward on the Iran deal. And what sort of parallels do you see here?
Well, look, I mean, you can always talk about half measures. If you want a foreign policy of half measures, then that's fine. If you want incrementalism, that's fine. Clearly, Donald Trump is going for a big prize here. I mean, that comes at some cost. And so, look, everyone was sort of amazed that Donald Trump could pull off a big meeting like this. I think the meeting will still happen in the long run, but it's going to happen on America's terms. And I think that's actually the right way to negotiate. If it looks like we want it too much, like we did in the Iran deal, they'll continue to string you out and get a variety of concessions. And that's exactly what happened to Obama. And President Trump is saying that's not going to happen to me here.
Isn't the big issue here just what denuclearization means? I mean, Kim Jong Un thinks that he's in a much stronger position because he now has the weapons. And we are saying, no, you're going to have to give up the weapons if you want all the other things that the president has said could be good for your country. The definition of denuclearization, that's the real key here.
You're exactly right, Dana. That is exactly the key. And the challenge here is that Donald Trump might even have a different view of what denuclearization means, right? I think that obviously the U.S. position on that has long been no nuclear weapons on the Korean Peninsula, out completely. And Kim Jong Un might agree to that, but what he may mean is, well, I'll denuclearize when you denuclearize, which of course is an unsustainable scenario. And so we'll see what ends up being meant here. But that's part of why you want to get to a place where your diplomats are talking to one another and you have an understanding of the terms before you go into these negotiations.
Well, one thing that is very different is that before this whole process, before Mike Pompeo, the new Secretary of State, had gone over to North Korea, had actually met with him, we didn't have any sort of relationship. So that is different. And I think that you're right. It probably will take place at some point, maybe just not in 2 weeks. All right, Jamil, thank you.